Some perceive it as luck, uncertainty, gamification. We think that luck really plays a definitive role into this life. Like, oh, he's lucky, that's why. I do A, I do B, I get C. Your small pathway contributes to the greater good. You can get stuck into this card if you just sit and observe and do nothing. What is the main difference between a wise man and a fool? If you, let's say, own your body, so-called, but you don't own your energy, you don't own your thoughts, you don't own your emotions, how far you will go? I read a very interesting book, Tao Te Ching, and it was said there, the pathway of Tao is the pathway of coming back. Hello, beautiful souls. So today we will be talking about a really mystical card for many here, and there is no specific interpretation of it from the attitude perspective, if it's positive or negative, because some perceive it as luck, uncertainty, gamification, right? Like it's like a wheel of fortune, who knows? But if you get to this card with the level of understanding, the deeper level of understanding of life, and when you encrypt all the previous codes, do you remember that in all the videos about all the previous cards? So we talked with you how to instill correctly the positive codes of each and every card in the major arcana. Let it be, like, let's go one by one. So the Fool, and then the Magician, then we get to High Priestess, and further on. So if we instill all the codes of the previous major arcana set in ours in the correct way, we come to this card in a very mature state. Now, if we meet that card in our life and we jump it through the ladder and we start working with this card, then we can break the legs. And how does this breakage of legs work in our life? Well, there are uncertainties. We perceive many situations as luck, and we think that luck really plays a definitive role into this life. We look at others and we may be envious about them, about their achievements, like, oh, he's lucky, that's why. But if we go to this card in a very mature state, we will understand that luck actually doesn't play that huge role into our life. I perceive not luck, I perceive it as a grace. Whenever I invest the work into myself, what is happening? The science is happening. And what is science? I do A, I do B, I get C, naturally. And if I don't know what is the correct sequence and I jump from A to Z immediately, then I can break my legs. Why would I break my legs? If I break my legs, then the whole picture about this world is distorted. I don't see clearly and I don't see correctly. And that's what's happening with every card in the major arcana set. That's why you have those reversed meanings, because you perceive those cards. They come to you because you have kind of like immature perception of the world from the angle of that card. That's what is happening. Now, if we look at each and every major arcana card, it's representing the specific avatar, the collection of qualities for a specific avatar. And we are moving through life acquiring those codes of each and every avatar. Many of us here get stuck in a specific avatar, and until we unseal certain type of blockage in ours, we don't open a certain door in ours, the new card will not come to our life. If we would want to overjump the process, we, as I mentioned, keep breaking our legs, and then the next card, let's say this card comes to your life, you jumped to it earlier than it was meant to be from the card of Hermitage, then what is happening? You may perceive that life is about gamification, life is about luck, there is lots of uncertainty here. But if you inquired again all the codes, previous codes of all the cards before this one in the major arcana set in the correct way, in a correct sequential order, what's happening is you start seeing everything in a clear way. You just see, oh, that's my destiny. Oh, it becomes apparent for you. While you were seeking in this card for your inner truth, do you remember? For your inner truth, that crystal, your inner wisdom, here you already found it. And while this card is powered by really that continuous seeking, continuous searching, continuous questioning, the path is very swirly, right? right? It's just very fiery pathway, lots of torturing is there, ups and downs are there. Here, you get into clarity, you see it all. You're already sitting like that Sphinx, the combination of all elements. You are a master of all elements. You are the master of your emotions, the cups. You're a master of your energy, the wands. You're a master of your physicality, the pentacles, right? And you are the master of your mind, the airy aspect, which is swords. So you're the master of all these elements, and you are sitting in this equanimity. You can then direct properly all these elements in order to achieve certain results into this life. And all what you are facing right now is your destiny. You understand that it's not actually about you. You see the picture which is predestined for you, and now you are kind of observant. You are observing what is shown for you right now. You start perceiving life beyond your small cycle of creation. You start seeing more patterns. You start seeing more cycles. You start seeing you in all these God's universal mosaic of creation, and how your small pathway contributes to the greater good, contributes to the bigger plan. You start seeing all these patterns, all these interconnections, and you are just like sitting there at awe of looking at all these secrets being revealed to you. There are no secrets anymore. It's all clear for you right now when you come to that avatar of Sphinx. However, we can see different avatars here around this circle, and they all read their books. Look at this. The bull is reading his book, the lion is reading his book, the bird is reading its book, and the angel is reading his book. So everyone reading something from their perspective. While this being, it sees it all. It doesn't read the book. It's having this sword in its teeth, which represents the firmness, and it's sitting in utter equanimity state. Now it is observing the situation, and it has to decide what to do next. You can get stuck into this card if you just sit and observe and do nothing, but you can move towards the plan and start acting. And then there comes the card in action, which is the justice, when you have to pull out your sword and to pull out your way so that you would start doing things in a just way in this world, no matter what happens, no matter how hard the situation may be. Look at this fiery aspect under her seat, but she is not being tortured. She's doing the necessary. That is the motto of life in this card. I will do the necessary. That's it. I'm stepping away from the process. I figured out my destiny. It's just that internal calling of my inner voice. I know it, it's clear, and I do it. I make it happen. I just become that worker in this life. I do my part. Well, that card prepares that mindset for the justice to come, right? Again, that is really mystical card because there are so many codes in here. We can see again and again the replica of all the elements here. So the bull representing the earth, the fiery aspect is in lion, then the watery aspect is in earth, and we go to airy aspect, which is in angel representation here. And we all know that in minor arcana we have those four elements represented by pentacles, cups, swords, and wands, right? Now, very interesting that on the side we can see that snake. It can have lots of connections with Saturn, right? And the ancient god in Egypt under the name of Seth. And we can see Anubis representation in here. It's the god which was headed with that head of a dog, right? He was accompanying souls to the other world. He had that deep constructive aspect in him. If you wish to learn more about this deity in ancient Egypt and about its role for souls in between physical and non-physical, you can read more about it in internet. Its name is Anubis. Now, Sphinx keeps watching into three cycles. The first cycle, the second cycle, and the third cycle, right? So what does it represent? If we look at it, you can get stuck in a smaller cycle. You cannot see patterns of a bigger cycle. What is the main difference between a wise man and a fool? The wise man sees deeper patterns, deeper trends. You can always win in this life if you see deeper. Well, if you see only one aspect, something small, you will be a loser. You want it or not, because you don't see the whole picture. You are more into the darkness. Well, this guy already mastered it all. He sees everything clearly. He sees all the patterns, all the interconnections, and he knows how to move through this world because the light is in him, right? Now, when we look at these letters here in this circle, we can read Ta, Ra, Or from another side, Torah. Or we can read Ator. It's interesting, I've been studying. Ator was a goddess, Egyptian goddess of destiny. So it was like, I have a deep curious mind for that, and I was studying. Is there some Egyptian goddess who had that type of name? It starts from H-A-T-O-R. So Ator, she was the goddess of destiny. There is something around this, right? So we keep unraveling these secrets from this card. Now, there are Hebrew letters here, and those who know Hebrew, you will see that it's the name of Yahweh. They don't name this God with their wording this way, they only write it, but it's one of the names of God per Jewish traditions, Yahweh. And if you write it in English, it will be like this, Yahweh, right? So YHVH. Now, this, if we look at it deeper, it represents fire. It is one. So you can go into internet and start looking into all these symbolism, and you will be at awe how deep this card is, how deep this specific card is, right? If we go and look at it deeper and deeper. So H and this H, they represent actually water and earth, and water it's cups, and earth it is pentacles, right? And then V represents the element air, which is swords. So I just want to make sure that you see it all in order to have that deep, profound aspect of reminders of all these elements into this card. So this card brings us back to that type of thinking again and again. Hey guys, you are all comprised here from 4 main elements, and you just need to find that balance within you so that all these elements would work in coherence with each other, not against each other. Because imagine if you, let's say, own your body, so-called, but you don't own your energy, you don't own your thoughts, you don't own your emotions, how far you will go? But if you own all these powers within you, how far you will go? Let's say you have a fighter on the field, and that fighter only owns his physicality, but you own all the other 3 powers, which is mental, emotional, and energetical. Even if your enemy exceeds you in physicality, but you have those 3 powers with which you are backed up with, what is happening is you are having the chance to succeed, because behind your back are 3 more powers, even if you are less empowered physically. Now, let's have a situation from like the story from my life. Let's say I'm dealing with my husband. He's stronger than me physically, but let's say I can overpower him energetically if I am connected. He's stronger than me, let's say mentally, but if I own my emotions and my energy, it's kind of like I can find some beautiful way within our interactions. We are all here colliding into each other with our interests, and when we start living with our family members, here we have to find the way comfortable for us to coexist. So it's kind of like you want to find the way of pleasantness for each other. So if you are backed up with lots of energy power directed in a certain way, and lots of emotional power directed in a certain way, and the person in front of you has tremendous intelligence, mental power, and the physicality, you already have quite equal balance, the equilibrium. The powers are one against each other, but you are kind of in that equanimity. So it's quite interesting chess game here, which is happening into our lives, and you always wanna be into that equanimity, sitting like that sphinx of all creation, and understand which powers today are available to you, what is your enemy on the battlefield is powered with, and how do you deal with it in a correct way, so that to find in the end of the day the win-win situation for both of you, right? So you can perceive it that way. Now, what's more interesting into this card, we can see again the repetition of elements within this inner cycle as well. So here is water, the water representation again. Here is fire, and then it's air, and then it is earth. So this is coming back again and again. Hey guys, balance out all these powers within you, and then you can come back to that state, sitting like this sphinx and seeing your destiny, to that state of ultimate clarity. Another thing which you can see into this card is the pathway of achievement. You see how all these arrows are coming out from the center, and there are more and more circles occurring. So you see the smaller circle, the bigger circle, the bigger circle. So it's kind of the pathway of expansion, the pathway of achievement. But at the same time, we can perceive it as the pathway of transformation, inner transformation, when we get from the outside to within, the pathway of coming back in the end of the day. The pathway of Tower, I read a very interesting book, Tao Te Ching, and it was said there, the pathway of Tower is the pathway of coming back to the center. So it's all about the center in the end of the day. So we expand, we grow in this life, we collect experiences, and then we have to get back to the center and to yield to the center of all creation, to bring all our memories, to transform through the process, and to bring the new pearl of all these experiences to this creation. And that's how really joy is occurring. Joy and love. Interesting thing is joy and love together, it's Jove. It's written that way. If we combine joy, look at this, joy plus love, look at this, joy and VE. If we combine it, will be Jove. Jove. And Jove, then I started searching into internet, what is Jove in? Jove was the name of God, it was like a king of all gods. And it is powered by Jupiter. Jupiter is another name of Jove. And Jupiter is the biggest planet into this galaxy here, what we have. It's the planet which is all about good fortune, abundance, right? That power. So all the riches in the world, they are being empowered by Jupiter, right? So they have the big influence of Jupiter here. So the zodiac affinity for this card is actually Jupiter. I was amazed to know about this, but I came to it naturally, figuring it out with my inner transformational process when I started looking deeper into this card. And that type of self-transformation, self-digging approach I would love to see in you guys. I just demonstrated to you how, looking deeper into the card's secrets, you can figure it out all intuitively, because all the symbols are speaking to our higher self. That is the biggest power in tarot cards, because these are all ancient symbols. And if you learn to work with symbols and be open to that metaphorical perception of this universe, then what's happening is miracles will start happening from the perception of others to you. But this is not miracles, this is actually science, because you get connected to your higher self through the power of symbols, and it starts communicating to you the deeper truths. And then you see your destiny, and then you have to accept it. You sit like a sphinx with that firmness within you, with that sword in your mouth, and you observe what's happening before you do the jump to the card Justice.